Hi everyone, this is Stacy from Stacy Cakes with another tutorial for you. Today we're going to learn how to create smooth edges and sharp corners with buttercream. Before we get started, if there's a technique or anything at all that you'd like to learn, please do comment below and we'll make a tutorial for you. So we're going to start with covering the cake with a very smooth and thin layer of buttercream. This is called a crumb coat. I know other places have different names for it, but I call it a crumb coat. And what this does is it traps in all of the crumbs, exactly as it says. This will stop your outer coat of buttercream that you can see I'm putting on now from getting any crumbs in it. So the first thing we're going to do to get these smooth edges is I'm going to put a very thick layer of buttercream on top of the cake, and I'm going to smooth it out. Once this top layer of buttercream is smooth, we are not going to touch it again. So you can see I'm wiping off my spatula there, and I'm just going to do everything I can to make sure that the top of the cake is incredibly smooth, because once that's done, and you don't need to touch it again. So you can see I'm just smoothing it out. I'm sure there are many other tutorials out there that have different ways of getting these smooth edges. Everybody has what works for them, but this is what works for me, and I hope it works for you too. So once that's done, I'm going to pipe on some buttercream, and I'm going to put it on thick. That's why I'm using the piping bag. I want it to be a really thick, even coat of buttercream all around the cake. Now I know most people will go right to the scraper, the bench scraper, but I like to smooth it out first with a spatula. Whatever preference you like, absolutely do. You know, we all learn our own ways, and however you feel comfortable working, do that. You don't have to copy videos. But this is how I learned, so this is what I do. So now what I'm doing is I got some very hot water. It doesn't have to be boiled water, but I just ran the tap for a nice long time so that it got very, very hot. And then I put the bench scraper in the hot water and wiped it off. You want to make sure there's no more water left on it. You want the heat from that water on the bench scraper. And then I'm just slowly going to go around the cake and smooth it out. Don't get too discouraged if you're not seeing it perfectly smooth right away. There's more steps to the process. You just want to get your very first smoothing out of the way. And then you're going to go back and fill in any little holes. So it's a process to get these nice smooth sides, but it is worth it in the end. So here I'm taking some of the icing that I have scraped off the cake, and you'll see it doesn't matter what kind of icing you use, you are going to have air bubbles in it. So when you scrape it, there's going to be tiny little holes. So just grab some of that icing and don't put it all around the cake, just where you see holes, because now when we go back to smooth it out, we're going to try not to take so much icing off of the cake. Just this little extra icing that we're putting on top is what we're going to scrape off, and that should fill in any holes that the air bubbles have left behind. So again, dip the bench scraper in hot water and scrape it off, dip it again, make sure to get all the water off, and smooth, smooth, smooth. And I think a really important step to doing this is having a good turntable. If you don't have something that can turn your cake smoothly, this is going to be really difficult for you. So if you're looking to decorate cakes professionally, I would recommend investing in a really good turntable. You will not regret it. Another thing to mention is that there are a lot of different kinds of buttercream out there. My favorite to use is a Swiss meringue buttercream, and that's what's in the video. If you're looking to learn to make Swiss meringue, check out my tutorial on that as well. I'll put the link below. I show you from start to finish how to create this exact icing. It's so creamy and delicious and wonderful to work with. So yeah, try it out. So now you're just going to keep going around and around, and you want to scrape off less and less. This is more about smoothing. I was using this cake will be used for an order, and I had put that little bow on the front, and that certainly messed with my scraping, but I worked around it. Alright, so it looks like that's about as smooth as I'm going to get it for now. So this next step is really important. Put it in the fridge or freezer and chill it until the icing is solid. This is why it has to be a buttercream. You need that butter to really harden in the fridge so that you can come back with a very sharp knife and scrape off the excess. You're going to line up the cake with that very top smooth layer, and you're going to scrape off any of that icing that's sticking up. What's really nice is that once it's solid, you can actually take some extra icing and smooth out any of the top corners that you didn't get perfectly. And a sharp knife is actually really nice to do that with. So this cake is done. It's as smooth as I need it for my purposes. I could mess around with it a little more, get a little more smooth, but there's no reason for me to do that because it's going to be a unicorn cake. And I'll put a link for that down below for the cake that it eventually became. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please do like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please comment below. I always answer the questions. Thanks again, and happy caking!